What's up guys and what's up PvP world? I am God KS and this is the Wolf Arena. Today we'll talk about how to build a full utility and tanky Begetter. Because building an efficient Begetter is no easy task. You need to be tanky as hell in both physical and magic damage reductions. In order to tank god tier DPS, you need to have high HP, high resistance, and high damage reductions. But before we start with equipment, let me remind you that plus 15 left and right side gears are necessary for this build to work. Refined damage and magic reductions help in the overall calculation for your final damage reduction. Not to mention, refined damage reduction is the only reduction that will lessen the damage of SP-type Stellar Hunters, as well as sacrifice damage of Divine Avengers, aside from AA damage redux. As for the refined magic damage reduction, it is more important than elemental and magic redux. Also, please use ancient equipments for your armor slots. It doesn't only give higher reductions, but it also provides damage reduction from players in PvP and GVG, and that is really valuable. Okay, let's start with your gears. For the offhand, we have Marine Soul Bulwark. This is for reducing elemental damage reduction. Enchant should be Tenacity 3 to 4, and best card for it is Gorgon card. Because skill damage reduction works with both physical and magic damage. Also, Gorgon card is way more better than GTV. The difference in reducing damage is only little, and you have max HP plus 15% if you use Gorgon. The other switching cards you can use is Maya and Basilisk. Next is the armor. We have here the Tide Rider's armor. Again, this is for elemental reduction and additional freeze and stun resistance. Double enchantment for both poison and freeze resistance. Best card is Argyo. You can have switching cards like Ghost Ring if there's a CM Bomber, Pasana Dokebi if you feel like you can tank the ninja, and Angeling if there's an AARM. But they are endangered class now, so don't worry about it. Next is the garment. Shoulder Badge. It gives high HP percentage. Random attribute is skill damage reduction. Again, double enchantment, fear and poison resistance. Best card is Deviling card for countering elemental damage. You can switch to Eclipse if there's a Dragon Fist in enemy lineup. Next for the footgear, Crucible of Blood. It gives high HP percentage again. Random attribute is max HP percent. Double enchantment, poison and freeze resistance. And best card to use for a utility is Edga. You can also use Moonlight Flower card if you are not afraid of Root and Dancing effect of the DMT of Stellar Hunters. As for the accessories, I still use Survival Ring. Enchantment should be at least Tenacity 3 to 4. And best cards to use are Osiris or Fisherman card. Osiris for HP and Fisherman for reduction as well as resistance. Now we go to the weapon, Raging Hurricane. It gives high medium size monster reduction, works only for physical attacks and skill. You don't need plus 15 for it. I tested it before against a plus 10 and only gives a little difference in reduction. Double enchantment, again for freeze and poison. Best card to use is Spashire, but if you are on a budget, you can use Meta and Egg. And if you need stone resistance for the ninja, just use 2 golden cards. For the headgear, I use Skyfall Pouring for additional max HP and also a shield that lets you absorb damage for the equivalent damage of 10% of your max HP. Enchant should be damage reduction, and best card to use is Nightmare. Next for the face gear, I use Midgard Goggles as it gives 20% Demi-Yuan reduction as well as 30% stone resistance. Next is the mouth gear. I use Spike Scarf. Enchantment should be damage reduction, but if you have a budget and lucky enough to snap or refine an Anger Snarl plus 15, that would be better. Next is the back gear. I have Chaos Protection for Fire and Earth skill damage reduction. Enchantment should be max HP %, or if you are a Son of God, you'll have Blasphemy 3 to 4 skill damage reduction. Last is the tail gear. I use MDF Fairy for magic reduction as well as stand resistance. Again, enchantment should be max HP % or Blasphemy 3 to 4. Other tail gear to use is Amethyst Creature. Now for the switching gears, I have God's Blessing for more HP and elemental damage reduction. Another Tide Rider for elemental damage reduction. Historical Witness, best in reducing physical attacks and skills. Bespoke Coat and Super Mecha War Boots for damage and magic damage reductions. Eggshell BU if you don't have Chemical Protect skill that prevents equipment from being broken. Eastern Dragon Visage, usable against DFs and if the enemy lineup doesn't have Ninja. Midgard Back for more damage reduction and freeze resistance. And last, Dragon Velvet, best in reducing AA damage like Sacrifice of Divine Avenger. Important skills to remember. Health Link, reducing your final damage by half. So if you get damage like 1 million, the 500k damage will go to your Orpheus. Mandragora Howling and Mutant Mandragora, making your enemies have extended cast time and cast delay, and also decreasing their heal. Crazy Weed, removing all ground skills and traps and field, especially CM's Earth Field and Ninja's Elemental Fields. Healthland, good for rooting your enemies if they don't have Edga or Dokedi card. Vine Armor, usable against Phantom Dancers. You won't get stripped and you'll have fire armor that can reflect fire attacks 100%. Homunculus Merge, gives you another 20% HP if you fuse with Lift. Photosynthesis for restoring full health. Magic Devour, a skill from Homunculus, lets you remove some CC effects like freeze, stun, fear, silence, etc. Now we go to Oracle Crystal. For the attack extract, use Orleans Gown to reduce fixed cast time by 15%. And for the defensive extract, use Meteorite Armor for additional 50% stun and freeze resistance. Dark Thorns with third line activated, so it can trigger Thorn's Trap. Shrill Howling for additional range and lesser CD of Mantra Howling. Merging Curse Star Rune with third line activated, so you will get a Warm Breeze effect and have 5% HP heal per second. Gene Recombination to get additional max HP and SP by converting your Agi stat. Gene Modification for additional negative stats of Gene Destroy. And last is the Thorny Vine Armor with third line activated to reflect incoming fire damage 100%. For the attributes overview, total of 1M field HP, 25% skill damage reduction, 61.9 damage reduction, but it can go higher to 130% if you focus on damage reduction items. 44.5% magic reductions. For the CC resistance, I have 150 freeze res, at least 130 to counter Stellar Hunter's freeze, 75 stone resistance to counter Stone Field of Ninja, but still don't stand on the field for too long. 109% stun res. 132.2% poison resistance. At least 130 point resistance to counter SBX poison, and don't let me hit you consistently. They can still poison you, but with lower chance and low duration. 21.9 fear res, so you won't run to the end of the world if you get feared. Elemental reductions, just enough reductions to counter high tier DPS. For the gameplay, check my videos for your reference. And if you have questions, feel free to comment or message me on my FB page. Just type in GodKS and there you go. And that's it for this episode of the Wolf Arena. Thanks again for tuning in and paalam!